have a bleach stain now. I always hate that. Clothes get a, especially something that you really like to get a bleach stain. You're like, what the hell? Come on.
Okay, do you want to have a whole outtake for the beginning of this episode? Because I have what I am calling a jizz ghost. Okay, I have a jizz ghost. Oh no, are you? Did I lose you? Okay, I
Oh,
randomly have all these weird stains on my clothing, and I don't remember spilling fluids or food, and they're not okay. I've put on a lot of weight since 2020. I have bigger boobs so that it catches things. It's not always in this area. It's sometimes lower, and it's I was also like, okay, well maybe it's because my art studio and I'm using things, but I always wear an apron when I'm in my studio. So I think I just have a ghost that jizzes on my clothing every
yeah.
now and then because it's never like brown or red or yellow. It's never like food. It's just like lightly enough to just be irritating and not be able to come out in the wash. And I'm like, there is a ghost in my home that masturbates into my clothing. I have a jizz ghost.
You would be, you would be the one person on Earth that would be haunted by a jizz ghost.
Hashtag jizz ghost.
Jizz
No, I
ghost.
actually know some people in my life who have passed who might be my jizz ghost. Welcome
Hello.
back to Holding.
Holding. Yay. Yeah, background reset. Background shut the hell up or we're not
Background,
going to
shut
feed
up.
you.
Quiet on set.
Quiet on set.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a thing.
Yes. I am Nate and I am in Ohio.
Shibuya. Yeah, I can't stop.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shabua.
To Tolvo, and I'm in Queens, New York.
Hooray. Somewhere
Hooray.
interesting.
Oh.
Yes, somewhere interesting. You have to drive a long way to get to interesting. Pretty much anywhere that you are currently or presently at in Ohio, you have to drive a long way to go somewhere interesting. Hey, we've been across this entire country, so yeah.
Actually, I have dropped some photos, some incriminating photos on our Instagram of our cross country trip. Just little morsels here and there if anybody is on Instagram and they want to see. So,
Oh, and that'll be an episode in the future,
yeah.
most
Oh yeah.
definitely.
Oh yeah. I have notes for that, of course.
Whole series.
Yeah.
Each state, although there's going to be a few states that are going to be clumped together.
Well, I think the title of that episode will be lyric from Tom Waits's "Hold On." St. Louis got the best of me.
Yeah,
Because it
because it
did.
absolutely did to
Good
you.
grief. Anyway, this episode.
Slating. Yeah.
Right, slate. In case
Yeah.
the listeners, the Tracys out there don't know what that means, I mean, if somebody didn't just see what we did on YouTube, what did we just do? We had a clacker. Does everybody know what a clacker is?
Yeah, well,
Everybody has to know.
it's yeah, I think I called it a
How
clacker
old
too.
is it? I mean, how many? I think we should do some research. It has to be really, really old. Like
Silent pictures,
back to
like
the
the first.
before the talkies.
Yeah, it almost have to be because you'd
Yeah,
still it's important for editing and
it is.
staying on
Yeah,
track because
yeah,
editing back then was not
yeah.
razors and film and ugh.
The actual
Yes,
cutting room floor.
I
Thing.
prefer clacker thing.
It's what they
We
were
could
called
say
before the talkies. I don't know.
that's right.
Okay.
So what are we about this week?
Uh,
What's
first, first gigs, first background
Oh,
gigs.
the first background gigs. The I almost retired then and there. Yeah.
Understandably.
Um, I was luckily cast on a production called. Well, I'm gonna say it was the
There's no messing
Amazing
up. Nobody knows.
Spider-Man. Yes, the one with Andrew Garfield, the first one with
The
Andrew
working
Garfield.
title was.
It was Fiona's Tale, and
Oh, wait. We should actually pause for the Tracys out there. Again, if you
yes,
haven't listened to anything we've recorded so far, we're big fans of the Smartlist podcast, and they always refer to Sean Hayes' sister, Tracy, who is not in the industry. Tell people what a code title or a working title would be
oh
in the film
yes,
industry.
they are. That actually started with Star Wars, I believe,
Oh, I believe it.
when they were filming Empire Strikes Back. I
Yeah.
think there were so many people that were just showing up, and they were so worried when they started filming Empire Strikes Back that they titled the movie Blue Harvest. And
Ooh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's really
yeah,
fun.
and
Thanks.
actually, the Family Guy episode of there's an episode where they kind of recreate A New Hope. It's called Blue Harvest, and that's just for the
Nice.
nerds.
Nice
Yeah, that's for
throwback.
the nerds.
Okay.
Little nerd bumps are tingling
That's
right
good.
now.
That's good.
So,
No.
so yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man was under Fiona's Tale.
Do you know why?
I could.
Because a lot of the Marvel Netflix
Oh,
stuff,
it
I'm
was like
kind of under.
I remember the logo. It looked like it was like something from Charlotte's Web, and the logo was a little spider coming down.
Cute.
Yeah.
It's like
Because the
Spawn of
other,
Charlotte.
have you ever worked on anything that had a working title, like a secretive
Marvel.
title or whatever?
Marvel.
Oh,
The Marvel
yeah, I
Netflix
never.
stuffs. Yep. I got to do Defenders and The Punisher, and I'm really upset with myself because I refused to work on something called Tiara because it was called Tiara, and that was Luke Cage.
Oh,
Which,
heartbroken.
in retrospect, I'm like, okay, Tiara, yeah. But the whole time I was like, what the fuck is this for Tiara stuff? I don't know.
I am such a fan
Dummy.
of Luke Cage that
I know, me too.
well, earlier today,
I'm an
I
idiot.
was getting up because of my back and I said "Sweet Christmas" and somebody was completely confused and then I had to explain myself. Like, oh, it's a character named Luke Cage. He says that and I had to just cower away.
Anyway,
All
Fiona's
right,
Tale,
so
Spider Man.
yes, um,
And
and
this year was. It was 2011.
it was 2011.
I wasn't
Yes,
even thinking about the film industry then. Nate was already
I
gone.
had I had just left. Well, I just graduated from the New York Film Academy for the 1 year program of.
Put a pin in that. We'll hit that in a minute. Tell
Yes,
your story.
we will hit that later. Yeah, so I'm so excited because getting this email and like, oh my god, I'm actually going to be working on a movie set, thinking, not knowing that
I
it's
didn't
that
even ask
either.
you like how you signed up for this
So
stuff.
this was Casting Network. So
Yep.
this wasn't Casting Network. This was Central Casting. This is
Yep.
before I signed up for Casting Networks. So I signed up for Central Casting, and I had forgotten about it, and it was like 2 weeks later that the first email I got didn't really say any of the specifics like wardrobe or anything. So like,
They never do,
this
do
was
they?
well, and in 2011 it was a lot worse. I saw each year it started to get better, but still
Okay.
not great.
Okay.
So I think it was later that week I got a call, like officially like offering me the stuff, and then they told me a little bit of the specifics. They asked if I had a beard, little things like that. I had to bring 3 changes, I think. No, just 2 changes. Yeah. Yes, I had to bring
Do you
two
want to
changes of
tell the
wardrobe.
listeners what changes
Yes.
are in case they don't know?
So basically, they want you to
The
bring,
bane
uh,
of our existence.
yes, they want you to bring 2 sets of clothing that are usually muted colors with no logos whatsoever. And and I was just so excited. I was like, yeah, I'll bring whatever. Yeah. That was the first time that I went into New York to actually work, like to actually make money as opposed to just going to give somebody else money. Uh,
Oh, I don't think I knew that. Okay, cool.
um
We're all learning this
so
together.
I had to find out where the beloved holding was, which
Oh.
was a church basement. Of
You're
course, yes.
kidding.
It's always, yeah. It's yeah. In retrospect, that's now like obviously that's where it would be,
Yeah.
And the first thing they tell me when I sign in is you have to fill out a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
And like that freaked me out a little bit. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" She's like, "Oh, that's because you're working on Spider-Man." And I was like, "It's like,
Nice.
oh my
So
god,"
you didn't
like
okay.
I was,
You had no idea.
yeah,
That's awesome.
no, uh,
That's a pretty
and
big
then
first one.
it didn't even bother me that it was overnights because I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll do whatever," I'll go anywhere, do anything, whatever.
I opened my eyes
Um,
really wide for those of you listening and not watching.
yeah, well,
Because overnights.
side note, some of my best memories from holding were overnights
Oh, I'm
because of,
sure. The
oh yeah,
loopiness and
the
yeah,
the brain dead
the
attitude of
punchiness. Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is funny
Um.
when you're that tired.
Oh yeah. 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 I want to say something, but we got to go into that in another episode.
Yes, we will have
Yes.
an episode about that.
They say get in line for wardrobe with your changes, and I'm like, oh okay, I got the stuff. I'm always early. Like I'm always fucking early. So like I know it's a good
That's
habit to have.
didn't you say that's
Yeah.
the difference between someone from New Jersey working in New York to a New Yorker? Because we New
Yeah.
Yorkers are always late.
Yes. I know. Yeah. Yeah. I think like 90% of my friends from, actually the East Coast, not just Jersey, not just New York, but there's some Jersey people that are late too, but that's okay.
I was
Yes.
born in New Jersey, and my excuse is I was 2 months. I was 2 months earlier. I was 3 pounds. I was 2 months early, so now I'm just always late to everything.
My brother was also preemie and he manages to get here on time, but that's okay.
Okay. Anyway, Spider Man.
So I'm waiting in the wardrobe line, and it wasn't that long because I was pretty early. I think there was like two people ahead of me. So, and they were looked at my clothes and they're like, okay, okay, all right, yeah, that's like this here, that there is like this is what you're wearing tonight. I'm like, great. And then as I'm walking away, again, not necessarily a side note, I have to point out the fact that I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
It's your first
Um,
time.
yes, so I had worn my favorite pair of shoes, which are not really screen appropriate. They are they were bright orange with green shoelaces, and I'm starting to walk away,
Uh
and I
oh.
hear, "Hold on!" Not even realizing the shoes. I'm thinking, "Oh, did I leave something?" And she's like, "You're wearing bright orange shoes, Chuck
Taylor's, by the way.
Taylor's."
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe my response was, "Why, yes, I am." And I didn't bring any other shoes because they didn't say bring extra shoes. I just,
Right.
And then the lady thinks there for a second. She's like, okay, well, you know what? It's dark. They're never gonna know." And so they just shove me on. I run into this guy, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever done this before?" And I was like, "Oh no, this is my first." I think he could tell because
I can tell. Right?
yeah, I've
Yeah.
I've had to tell people to calm down. Everything's gonna be okay.
Really?
I know they yelled at you, but they didn't fire you, so you're good. You're good. Oh, I've seen some shit.
That is another episode because I have those
Yes.
stories too.
That episode is
I
going to be
think we
called
all
I've
do.
Seen Some Shit. This wonderful man just says, come with me. So I put my stuff down and I follow him into this other room. And this is kind of like a craft service area type thing.
Did we explain to people what craft services even
We
is?
might have. That's kind
I
of,
don't think so.
that's for the most part,
I don't
most
know.
people sort of know what it is.
Do they?
They'll hear about it or see it and stuff.
Do
Yeah.
they?
But we
It's the
call it
snack
crafty because
area.
we're cool.
It's the snack area. People
Yeah.
call it crafty if they're lazy. It's
Delicious
craft
snacks.
services. It's delicious if
The,
you're union.
oh,
Let's not. Okay.
Yes. So, oh, again, yes, nice to point that out.
I will. Because
This was a
Nate
very
is,
non-union
and I am
production.
not.
Yes.
Nate is SAG, and I am
Yes.
not.
We walked there and there's a bunch of baskets, but there's like the only thing that's in one of the baskets is one banana, and
One
the guy
banana.
says, "Grab that banana." He's like, "Grab that banana." I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And he's like,
That's what she said.
"Because they're gonna call lunch later tonight, and you're not gonna get to eat."
Mm-hmm.
Thank God
Accurate.
that wonderful man told that to me because that was my nourishment later. It was a very, very, very long night, and it
And it was
was
physical, right? You were running
it was
from.
incredibly physical. Yeah, we were running down Sixth Avenue. There were flares. There was
I,
people were stepping on the flares because nobody
of
watches
course.
where the hell they're
Right.
going.
No.
People almost got trampled because it was chaos in the pitch black. Apparently, the monster thing,
The
whatever
fake
it
monster
was,
thing that you
yeah,
were
the
running
fake
from.
monster thing, yeah, it had, torn out the power line, so the lights had to
Ah,
be out. Yeah,
of
so
course.
it was,
I just think about running in the rain in Chuck Taylors, and there's no grip. You could slip. Like that makes me a little.
yeah, my joy for the business at that time.
Yes, you did not.
Oh, it died very
Yep.
quickly. I would say by hour 4, running in the rain at
Wait, how
night.
many hours was it? If it was overnight, it was double digits, right?
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think I might have made $65 after taxes.
Accurate.
Which, when I got that check, I was like, you know what? I mean, yeah. But that night, I was like, fuck this shit. I'm doing something else. I uploaded my first resume to monster.com.
Wow, monster.
It wasn't until my first SAG waiver gig. Sorry.
Ah.
Broad City. That was when I started to like, this is this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, essentially. Of the two girls in Broad City, Abby, we were, I wouldn't say like incredibly close, but we got kind of close, not like in a sexual way or anything, but like I I ran into her.
Okay.
I know, I know. Yeah,
Disclaimer.
I met them, both of them. I went to the UCB theater and I saw their show and I
Yeah.
saw them afterwards. And a group of them just went to, there was a diner like, I don't know, a couple blocks away from there. We all like hung out
Mm-hmm.
and it was great. And I think I talked to Abby like the entire time. She's so much fun. Like Alana obviously is very bouncy and she's exactly the same as she is on that show. There
Yeah.
is no difference between the Alana and the show. And Abby's a little bit more grounded, but she's just incredibly funny and incredibly sweet. And I would just run into them all the time. And then when I got Broad
Wow.
City, I thought they were doing background work on it. I didn't put two and two together that the show
Wow.
Broad
Okay.
City and the, yeah, I know. Well, I
Honest
went up to him. I was
mistake.
like, "Hey, how's it going?" I was like, "You guys are working on this," and Abby's like, "This is our show." After the first season became a huge success, like they sent me a shirt. I still have it somewhere. It does not fit me at all because they sent me a medium when even then I was 2X. It says Broad fucking City on it, and man,
Nice.
I was so
Does it
excited.
actually
And
say
that I
broad
sent,
fucking city?
yeah, yeah,
Good.
it's pretty good. I wore it to the Lady Gaga concert that I went to.
Aw.
After the show like became like a huge success on Comedy Central, like I sent her a message on Facebook because we were Facebook friends. Then I sent one to Alana. Slowly, they just like disappeared. Didn't have that Facebook page anymore. There was only like a Broad City page.
Yeah.
And see, the last time I saw them is I was working on the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and
You like
they
that
were
Spider Man?
their production office was above where the holding was
Ah,
for the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
random.
Yeah, that was an interesting holding location. It was like a full-blown production office. It was actually pretty cool because there was like giant Spider-Man poster, they had storyboards laid out, and like it
Nice.
was that was I could talk about that production for a long time alone because that was just a great experience. But anyway, whenever I see like Abby on anything, I'm always like, maybe she'll come on the show. I don't know.
Oh,
Here's
well, we're
hoping.
putting that out there.
Yes.
You don't want to talk any more about the Film Academy before I talk about my first.
God. Stenches. The guy that made Stenches.
Rob.
He went to NIFA also, and like
He did.
I yeah, that's we
Pause
talked about
for the
that.
Tracy's out there. Stenches is a short film that
Excellent
I was in,
short film.
and thank you, Nate. I actually got to. It was some talkie. I had some lines.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a short film that. When was the premiere? 2018.
Oh,
Google it.
yeah.
I think it's one of the few
Oh,
things on my IMDb. Google it,
yes.
people.
Yes.
But you were saying about the Film Academy.
Everything that I learned from there, I learned within the first week, and
Yeah.
it was a 1 year program.
First week of being on set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything like everything that I learned as I learned watching other people, even our beloved God Bruce Campbell says that. He says that's the best way to learn is by watching the
Oh,
masters. So,
he is the king of just doing it and learning by default.
I know Bruce Campbell is the king of everything, by the way.
Sam and Bruce, I think for someone like me who's blue collar and was an art school dropout, it's just very encouraging because it just shows that if you just get in the thick of it and are willing to get dirty, you will learn things so much faster. The film industry is not going to school, and neither is really art, really. Before I jump into my story, though, you have to tell people what you were required to watch at the Film Academy. Just because we have a teaser on YouTube,
Oh,
listeners, go to
yeah.
our YouTube. There's a teaser about this film. We're going to have a whole podcast on difficult films, I think.
Yes.
And I want you to
Now,
tell this story.
well, I will preface this by saying that the films that we watched at the New York Film Academy, there was there was no rhyme or reason for
Oh, yeah,
them. I
no.
still don't understand. In the same week that we watched A Woman Under the Influence, we watched Stripes. I was fine with that. I was like, fuck yeah, I
Yeah,
love Stripes.
sure.
Great movie. I was one of the only movies I think that we were forced to watch that I had already seen and knew like you know,
Nice.
every morsel of that movie. Yeah, The Woman Under the Influence. So I guess I should talk about Dave first.
You don't
Um,
have to name this person if you don't want to.
oh no, he will absolutely he will eat this
Okay.
up. I'm okay with that.
Okay, great.
Dave's actually one of my dear friends. He will adore this.
Great.
Um, we're watching this. It was for a class called I don't think it was the scene study class, but it was like an acting for film class. There was like 11 of them. So I'm watching this movie that is it's not an easy watch.
It's not.
There are
Yeah, it's not. It's
no,
not.
it is like mental health and incredible
We.
acting and
I'm just gonna reiterate. We're gonna do an episode
oh yeah.
sometime in the future about difficult films to
Mhm.
watch, why they're important, but also why they're difficult.
And just an incredibly interesting film that I've never seen anything like this. I'm like,
Right.
this is a weird thing. A fellow student in the class was this guy named Dave, and I was worried when I started going to the school that I was going to be the redneck because have sometimes have a little bit of a southern accent,
Really?
and sometimes
I don't know
I
if I.
catch myself on the things.
Okay.
But Dave is from Arkansas, and he has like yeah, his accent is thick as mud, like it is. But I'm watching this movie, and I want to like kind of say something to him, like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And I just look over at him, and his face is just just
If you're listening, you should be on YouTube to have seen that face. I'm just saying. Okay.
yes, just blank confusion the whole time. It's like somebody trying to read something in a different language when they
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Like the first time you see Chinese letters or something when you're a kid, and you're like, what exactly is it? Like he's trying to. And so the movie ends, and the ending to that movie is kind of interesting. Again, I don't want to get into too much details, but it's not a
Watch it.
typical ending. He's still like look at credits are rolling. He's still looking at that. I was like, hey, this is an interesting movie, and he's like, what the fuck was that? What? I was like, oh yeah, no. He's like, no man, what the fuck was that? He just could not comprehend what he watched, and I'm thinking like, oh, this is like a, like something that I'll always remember and everything, and it was
Yeah.
just something he just All right, what's next? Now, to be fair, Dave loves stripes, so you know
Yes, yes.
he's not a lost cause. But yeah, it's just like I was wondering. I remember we watched some other movies, and I was just wanting to know like what's his response. I could give a shit about how I felt about a movie after that. He actually that would be
I'm gonna
that
write
would
that
be an
down.
interesting
Dave.
that would be an interesting guest for the podcast.
Dave.
I did actually had a SAG thing to say. Once again, I have been chosen to be on the SAG nomination committee, so I'm going to be getting a shitload of DVDs in the mail in October. I also have to point out that I did not sign up for this bullshit, but
Okay.
while getting screeners is fun, but the nomination committee is like too many fucking screeners of bullshit that I'm never going to watch. So, grass isn't always greener to Talvo.
I did effects makeup recently on an indie film, and the director was Hungarian. And in my studio, he saw that I had a picture of Peter Falk. So we got talking, and Peter Falk and Woman Under the Influence, blah, blah, blah. And I mentioned to him, I was like, listen, when you go back to Budapest, please take a picture of the Columbo and dog sculpture for me, please. That was our little nerdy moment with that. But anyway, that's why I made you go into it.
Oh, sorry. I was talking to my physical therapist last week, and he was working at a movie theater. And this just reminded me of you so much. He was talking about all the movies that came out when he was working there, and he was naming all of them. And and he's also like kind of like grinding into my back, so I'm like trying not to. And then he said, "It's like, oh yeah, man," and Grindhouse came out, and he's like, "Man, Planet Terror, that was great," and boy, that other one with Kurt Russell, dog shit. I was like, yeah, that's right.
Oh.
He didn't even say the film that
Oh.
must not be mentioned.
Don't even. Listeners, just know there is one film in my life that I live to hate, and we're going to do a whole podcast about it. We're going to do a whole episode, trust me.
Oh, I think we should live stream a commentary.
That would make me have to watch it again. I really
Maybe
just
be watching
feel
it
like
with
it should be.
me.
Yeah, no, I would do it for you. I would probably have to have alcohol involved though, because I feel like it should just be edited down to 15 minutes of Kurt and
Yeah.
then them doing him in, and that's it. Like, cut out all the fluff. Maybe we
Hey.
cut to him apologizing for making it, because didn't he publicly apologize for the
Oh
movie?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, yeah. Anyway, that's a different episode.
Yes.
I have to tell my story. So,
The Talvo's story.
my first.
Take two.
Yeah. Take
Sorry.
2. Episode 2, take 2. My first background episode was around 2013, 2014, and it was Law and Order. And I wasn't in the acting business at all yet. I was still serving, and I was working in the serving industry, service industry, and I was denying a lot of my creative whatevers. Apparently, Nate and I were both in this episode. Found that out later. We didn't meet because we didn't work the same day, but it was the water tower. What do you call it? The wonder.
It was called Wonderland Story, yes,
Yeah.
of Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And 2013, 2014. And the reason why I even did it was because I was friends with a lot of circus people and fun, whatever, people, nightlife, cabaret people.
As one is.
As one is.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were they actually participated in performing in the actual water tower when it happened, that the story was loosely based about, not the victim part of the story. I was randomly asked to participate, and it was a fun paycheck. I went out to the pier. That's where they do a lot of Law and Order stuff. Sorry, Nate, they didn't shoot in a real water tower. It was a fun day. It was a good paycheck. So I wasn't serious about acting though when I did it. I was still pretty sure that I couldn't make money off of doing things that I loved at that point, which was, again, 2013, 2014. Talk about that episode because
Well,
Nate
yes.
apparently was in it and we didn't meet and we didn't work the same days of the shoot.
No.
So, ta da.
Yeah. I think that was like the universe introducing us without introducing us.
Mm hmm. Yeah.
Um, a very good episode too. When I worked on it though, it was uh, Cooper Union. We were in two. It shot in two different spots. Cooper Union, and then on top of the building that was the so-called water tower. I don't know if that was the actual water tower, like in real life that they based it on. I don't know, but it was just a water tower on top of the building, and there were supposedly people in the water tower, but we didn't get to go in there. And even if we did go in there, I wouldn't have seen you because it was a whole different day. And it was kind of cool because I got to hang out with Ice T
I
all day,
was,
which is like,
it was an interior set. It was totally artificial. It
oh
wasn't the
yeah.
water.
There was actually a couple of things that happened that night. There was a very serious moment um, outside the water tower, which Detalvo doesn't know this, where Ice T's character has to like be really focused and like like he's really like acting at this point. He's in the middle of a take, and we're all kind of watching him like really like fucking acting. We're like, wow, this
Yeah.
guy's really doing it. He's focused. And then all of a sudden he
Yeah.
just goes, I smell Mickey D's. They had to go cut.
What?
Apparently, production had bought everybody McDonald's. So
Oh,
there
God.
was a shitload of McDonald's burgers, and they were bringing them in. He was in the middle of a take, and he was like, "I smell Mickey D's." Like, I'm sorry, I
Like,
smelled it.
God.
And then later that night, because we were only allowed to shoot on top of the building for a little bit, we went down to Cooper Union. It was supposed to just be like, a walking scene where the two detectives who are undercover with us, the other steampunks just walking like and talking. In the middle of that, it was, I think we were about ready to start shooting, and then out of nowhere, these two homeless men start getting into a cane fight. Just two guys just wailing on
No.
each other with canes, and like just,
I'm sorry.
I know. Well, when I'm retelling the story,
So random.
I'm
So
hearing like
random.
Star Wars. I'm hearing like Star Wars music, like with like, but it's so badly like it wasn't like a nice choreographed fight
Oh.
scene. It was these guys just hitting each other with canes. There were guys in cop uniforms standing there
I don't know if my
because
mic is picking this up, but there's cops going by right now. So keep telling the
they
story in
they
case my.
know they know that I shouldn't be telling the story. I signed an NDA. No, so the guys are dressed like cops standing there, but they are the actor cops, and they're completely confused. And then, like parting the Red Sea, these two other like real cops just part the other cops and go and then take care of the guys
Oh man.
more than
Was
anything,
it
because
an
that was just
overnight
it was not
or just late?
really, because I think it was late. Like it started like as the sun went down, and I think we only shot for like 3 or 4 hours, so like it
Okay.
wasn't
All
technically an
right.
overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ours was pretty simple. I feel like we got the Piers, Chelsea Piers. We got there. I feel like we got there. I don't know, at a reasonable. It must have been the middle of the week. I don't know what it was for you, but I feel like now that I understand how shooting happens, it must have been the middle of the week. Show up around 10, and by 4 you're wrapped. And it was just an interior shoot that was a fake interior of the water tower. I don't know if anyone can see you in your shots.
Oh
I
yeah.
had bright red hair. It was just like 3 seconds of an aerial shot, and if you see bright red hair, that's me.
Yeah.
That was my
Both
first
scenes.
experience.
Yeah, both scenes you can see me in. Like
Ah,
I'm
well, we
very
should
well featured.
screenshot that and put it on our
I
social
should.
media.
I have no problem rewatching that episode, because that is Richard Belzer's final episode. The late
Yes.
great, wonderful man.
Are
Yeah,
you even a New York background actor if you haven't been on Law and Order
that's
once
true.
or 3 times?
Yeah, I worked on it another time, but that was actually wearing green pants on that one. I think you can still fit in those green pants. I have a bleach stain now. I always hate that. Clothes get a, especially something that you really like to get a bleach stain. You're like, what the hell?
Okay, do you want to have a whole outtake for the beginning of this episode? Because I have what I am calling a jizz ghost. Okay, I have a jizz ghost. Oh no, are you? Did I lose you? Okay, I
No.
randomly have all these weird stains on my clothing, and I don't remember spilling fluids or food, and they're not okay. I've put on a lot of weight since 2020. I have bigger boobs so that it catches things. It's not always in this area. It's sometimes lower, and it's I was also like, okay, well maybe it's because my art studio and I'm using things, but I always wear an apron when I'm in my studio. So I think I just have a ghost that jizzes on my clothing every
Yeah.
now and then because it's never like brown or red or yellow. It's never like food. It's just like lightly enough to just be irritating and not be able to come out in the wash. And I'm like, there is a ghost in my home that masturbates into my clothing. I have a jizz ghost.
You would be, you would be the one person on Earth that would be haunted by a jizz ghost.
Hashtag jizz ghost.
Jizz
No, I
ghost.
actually know some people in my life who have passed who might be my jizz ghost. So I don't have the money to go out. Hey, people, you want to sponsor us? Because we're both broke. Hey, Dickies, sponsor us. Um,
Oh yes, that would
it,
be
you know,
great
um,
sponsor.
it just some of these clothes I have bought since 2020, since I've put on weight, and I'm like, I just got these clothes. I don't even know where the stain came from. So it came from the jizz. I have a jizz ghost. That's all. That guy isn't a sponsor. He's just wrecking my wardrobe right and left. He ruined my Peter Falk shirt. I just got that shirt in the fall, and I don't even
Okay,
know.
you should just that should be that actually before like that should be uh the the little teaser beforehand as you saying, I have a jizz ghost. He ruined my Peter Falk shirt. Pretty soon you're going to be making little glass jizz ghosts.
Hey, if people want them, I'll make them.
Yeah, if that's what we're known for, that's what we're known
Hey, there
for.
are worse things.
Cut to
So
5 years later, we're still doing this, and we have our little like little jizz ghosts that we're selling, or like jizz ghost is actually a voice of one of our friends. Like,
yes, that's a Howard Stern type of thing. Like, yeah, we could have.
yeah,
Let's call in Jizz Ghost. What does he have to say about this?
yeah,
Back to first episodes. I
yeah.
randomly was invited to work on background in 2020, 2013, 14, whenever the Law and Order episode was. I was a haunted house actor. Year round from 2014 to 2015 because they closed in 2015. It was the only year round haunted house in New York. Everything else was seasonal. I actually just applied for the job because I was still in that like I can only make money as a server mode, and they were like, we don't need bartenders, we actually need actors. And they stuck me out front, which sucked. Standing outside on 42nd, right by Port Authority, being like a carnival barker to get people to come into this haunted house. And
Oh
but
yeah.
I mean, the good thing was you could yell really morbid things at tourists because it was a haunted house. So it was on brand. Anyway, I think a lot of actors have been through worse in New York
Yes.
as far as degrading situations go. But anyway, I met my buddy TJ, who will be on this podcast as a guest at some point. I'm not going to go too
Absolutely.
far into that, but I met TJ at Times Square. I actually managed to learn a lot of FX makeup and different voices. I had everything from Jennifer Tilly to death metal. In the haunted house, you lose your voice a lot. I really wish I had a
Of course.
vocal
Yeah.
instructor. But yeah, voices and makeup and costumes. Oh my. and it was very physical, and that's where I think my itch for action acting. I don't want to say stunts, but because it's not like I'm going to get hit by a car. I have the same birthday as Keanu Reeves. I'm not going to claim I'm a stunt actor. He claims he's an action actor, and yeah, that's where my interest in that came from. Anyway, long story short, that craziness started having a lot of OSHA issues. Does everybody know what OSHA is?
I do.
Do they? Do our
If
listeners
you
know?
basically, I was gonna say, if you basically have had a job,
Okay.
like a normal job, you have to go through OSHA
It
training.
was bad. People were getting hurt. People were getting hurt on the job, and it was just, and it was minimum wage and whatever. And I knew basically that at the end of 2015 that this haunted house was going to go under, and I asked myself if I wanted to, the beginning of October of 2015, if I wanted to do another Halloween there, because Halloween in New York at Times Square at that time, there were lines around the block for days, you know, the whole week of Halloween. People would be like, "Oh, you know, I came through. Did you see me?" And I'm like, if my mom came through, I would not have known because I started my chainsaw like 400 times. My arms are so sore, I can't take off my bra. I left. I left right before Halloween in 2015. My very second background acting gig was in November of 2015, and it was Orange is the New Black.
Or fans of the show, please turn off now.
No,
No,
I mean,
I'm okay.
you and
I was a fan
I
of the show.
love the
Yeah,
show. We
yeah.
love the talent from the show, obviously. Listeners, just know if you're a background actor, that was the show that was notorious to be shit to work on. Especially, I don't know, Nate, because Nate is SAG and I'm non union, but was it
Yes.
any better as SAG? Because, oh boy. Oof.
It's better as a male on that show because I had
Okay.
two amazing experiences on that show. But all of my friends that were female got treated like shit
Yeah. Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
Like one of my friends, who actually, I can actually mention my friend Hannah. She will probably be a part of this too because she's just
Okay.
like us. But she got hired on it, and I've actually seen her on it. I saw her in the background in one episode, but she was hired on it, and I think the first day that she had to be topless, and she was like, "I did not agree to that," and they were like berating her and making her feel like shit.
What? No, they have to give you a
No.
financial bump if you're taking off your clothes. Are you kidding me?
Well, she didn't. She didn't end up doing it. So,
Yeah.
but still, like
Good.
that
That is
was
principle. I
yeah.
mean, what the hell?
I would take it. I would take some money for nudity. I think, but
Can I just
again,
can I
nobody's
just
asking.
pause and say that when as we progress along this podcast, there are many shows that are amazing, but boy oh boy, either I wouldn't ever work them again or I just wouldn't even attempt to work them because they were shit. Are or were shit to background. And unfortunately, Orange is the New Black was notorious for being shit, especially to female background actors.
I ran it when actually my friend Hannah, I became friends with her. We worked on the show Billions,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
we just became friends throughout the throughout the shoot and everything. We worked on
How
it
was
like
your
throughout the
experience
week or
on
something.
Billions?
It was okay.
Not to get completely off of my actual first I'm doing this now background episode, but Billions I feel like I avoided like the plague because they usually wanted women in club scenes, and they wanted women in
Ah,
club scenes not the way that Gotham wanted them. They wanted them in fucking heels. Listeners, if you are doing background and you are doing you're a you can possibly wear heels and you're in a club scene, do not do it because you will be expected to stand in heels for 12 hours and it's agony and no one will ever see your fucking feet and it's stupid. Like at least Gotham let me just wear my stupid big clompy boots that I like. I did Billions once and I avoided it like the plague after that because usually it was club scenes. And when I hear upscale club scenes, then I'm thinking they want me to wear heels, even though they're
Yeah.
never going to see my feet. So who cares? Why do I have to be
Yeah.
in pain for 12 hours? And also, this is for another episode. Billions, I think, was the. I think Billions in 2019 had the bus that drove non union background upstate in a snowstorm, and the bus almost slid off a mountain, and everybody almost died, but somebody jumped. It's funny because there was a whole article about it, and now
Jesus.
miraculously it disappeared. I'm sure I could find it on my Facebook.
Yeah.
Like the emergency thing fell and hit the driver on his head. He was knocked unconscious. The bus started to slide off the mountain, and one of the background guys like was able to pull the brake. And I was like, I don't get paid enough for this shit for non-union.
No, like I didn't know that. That's fucking crazy.
I
Well,
will
but Billions, it
find
was
that.
just
They
for me, it was
buried
just a.
it. I found
Oh
the
yeah,
article and I put it all over my Facebook and it was very quickly buried shortly thereafter. But it happened,
that production
motherfucker.
has money. That's a Showtime series
They
that
have
has
money.
fucking
They have
money.
no
Yeah.
excuse for that crap and
No.
so often. Anyway,
We were just talking about stuff we worked on, and I had just worked on Orange is the New Black, and I was so excited because it was such a good day. It was such a good story. I mentioned it to Hannah. I'm going into this detail. I was like, oh my god, I basically spent most of the day with Natasha Lyonne, and she's so badass, and she's such a fun,
jealous.
like, yeah, such a fun person. And I told her how much I loved her
Jealous.
because the
Aww.
movie, but I'm a cheerleader. Like when I saw that in high school, I was like, this is the coolest chick I've ever fucking seen. And she was like, oh, really? No way. That's nice. Just very. And then like I look over to Hannah and like, uh, you know, much like Dave's face, just like she was
Throwback
like,
to
I didn't.
Dave.
Yeah, she was like, I did not have a good experience on that show,
Oh.
and so she just unloads about all the shit. And then I think it was when I worked on it again. There was a lady working there, and like it was just like it was one of the best days because I think I worked maybe like 20 minutes and then they wrapped us, and it was got the whole. Yeah,
Uh,
that's where I met my friend, the late Brad Henke. Um, but she was like just somebody I met and we were just talking about it. She's like, yeah, I've worked on this production a lot. This is the first good day I've ever had.
yeah.
It
I
was
mean,
yeah.
I heard a lot of stories of women who went upstate to the prison scenes, and I even heard about listeners. Nate and I really love Gotham, and we're going to put Gotham on a pedestal because it's
Yes.
probably the best for us to vote as a show for background people. For background friends, as they're called, without going into that. So, Orange is the New Black is known as kind of the worst of its time for background
Yeah.
friends. And I had a woman that I regularly knew from Gotham say that she went upstate to do one of the prison scenes and they left her there. They actually left her upstate. How do you get home? What? Oh, anyway, that wasn't my experience. I will tell everyone about my experience. Okay, November 2015. This was my second background gig. This was probably my all right, the haunted house is closing or I'm done with it. A little bit of both. It's closing and I'm done with it and I need a new career. So let me just see what this background world is like. And the first thing that I got was Orange is the New Black. Initially, I was excited because it wasn't too far from my house. It was in Billiesburg, and it was supposed to be a club scene. And the club scene was great, finished early, boom, no problem. Then they did this random let's pull some straws. Who stays for the second half of the day? Which I don't think that they told us to bring changes for that. No, they didn't. And Nate, would you like to tell the listeners what a walkaway lunch is?
It's a big fuck you to everyone. It's a so most productions will have a catered lunch, and it's there's some wins and there's some losses in those,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's generally there's unless you're working the first Spider-Man movie overnight, um there's food, like shitload of food for everyone. If the crew leaves enough for everyone, it's usually a good time. um which the crew can take as much as they want because they're the only people fucking working.
Yeah.
But walk away is sometimes they will tell you in the email, which she's still almost shaking her head, but most of the times they don't
No.
let you know that until your ass
That's
gets
the
there.
fucked up thing. I
Yep.
don't mind a walkaway lunch. If you tell me, I will
Yeah.
bag my lunch like a blue collar motherfucker. But they usually
Yes.
don't tell you. And the thing is that
Nope.
we were in the middle of nowhere, and that's the beauty of it. When they're just like, oh, guess what? It's lunch and it's walk away, and you have a half hour. So you basically have a half hour to try to find food, and you're nowhere. You're in the middle of like nowheresville, and you didn't expect to pay for your lunch and bullshit. So anyway, that happened with that. Came back from walk away lunch, and I was one of the few people that they kept for round two. And round two, the second scene was exteriors, which I'm pretty sure they also didn't mention in the email because it was November and it was 40 something degrees out and it was off and on rainy. And they wanted us to dress like it was fall spring, which it was kind of cold and rainy. We were outside. And a wardrobe lady who approved my outfit came up to me yelling that I had to take my scarf off. And this was only my second time. And I had nothing to lose. I was like, you approve this. Don't speak to me that way. Like, don't. Which sometimes they do. And I was like, you approve this. I didn't have anything to lose. And she calmed down a little. And I got rid of the scarf that she had earlier approved. Which, listener, also know I have worked wardrobe on set before, so okay, I can tell these stories. Anyway, it started to rain. We weren't covered. It was 40 degrees out. It was exterior. It was outside by the JMZ. And the JMZ trains kept going by. We had to hold. For some reason, we had to hold for whenever the train went by. And I'm like, who scouted this location that we can't have the train going by? We have to have absolute silence. And then, I don't know, 10 hours into it, a helicopter starts circling the area, shining down a light because there's a fugitive. And we have to pause for that. We have to stop rolling because they're looking for somebody on the loose. Yay!
Yeah.
That was my, I don't know, my second time, but my first actual, like, I'm trying to do this
Yeah.
background
Well, I mean,
situation. And
it could be worse. You could have been left there.
I mean,
I know. I just
near
like
where I lived. Anyway, I learned
still
to
like
not do Orange is the New Black. All fucking respect to everyone, all the cast of Orange is the New
Yeah.
Black. I mean, Jesus.
Well,
Let's face it,
I've
Poker Face is one of my favorite new shows, but
yeah,
oh,
I've
just saying, Orange is the New Black got a bad reputation with background actors, and that's somebody we are calling out on their bad behavior.
yeah. I've never worked Blue Bloods, but my car at the time was booked.
Tell people about
Yeah.
picture cars. People don't know what
So
that
yeah,
means.
picture cars. Picture
Picture
cars is
cars.
they always need cars for filming. Always
Mm-hmm.
need because they got to move it around or they got to just have cars parked a certain way. So
Which the Batman? Which Batman? What's the one? The Christmas one.
it may returns.
Yeah. And there's that same car like 5 times. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
could
Yeah.
Tim Burton not afford more than 5 cars? There is one picture car you see like 7 times. And I mean, it's a cute car. It's not really a Volkswagen. I don't really know what it
Tim
is.
must have just loved the car.
I mean, maybe it's like a Evil Dead car kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh, so that's a good way if you have a car in New York or in New Jersey and drive it to New York.
You're crazy.
True, but they always need picture cars.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to get extra money because you get a big bump for that.
Yeah.
I've never worked on the show Blue Bloods, but I'm driving around one day and I get this call. I don't even know who the fuck it was. Like they didn't say like, oh hi, this is something from here. You know, it's like, uh, it was just somebody said, where are you? And I'm like, uh, I'm driving. Like what? I
Living
don't know
my
what
life?
you're. Okay, I'm going to Target. Who the hell is this? Like what is? She's like, your car was supposed to be on set like 3 hours ago, and I'm like, uh, nobody told me that.
Mm-mm.
And so she starts berating me. She's like, well, you have the production, you're holding up production, you're holding blah blah blah, this whole spiel. And I'm like,
News
I
to
don't know
me.
who I don't know who the fuck this is. I don't know who the fuck booked my car on something without notifying me. But yes, they had booked my car and not me.
Your car got
Blue
on the
Bloods and
internet
nobody.
and like posted
Yeah.
headshots.
Oh yeah. And honestly, because of that, I never submitted for anything Blue Bloods ever again. I was like, that fucking this bullshit.
Oh,
Like, yeah, no, put a bad taste in my mouth. Tom Selleck is great, but
of course.
all the Wahlbergs,
Mustache.
not a fan.
This is one of those things where it's a good show, but I had such a horrible experience with casting. I just cannot. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I have so many friends who want me to watch it, and I know that it's brilliant and blah, 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 blah. But on another episode, I will go into the casting and how it was a bunch of 12-year-old girls who would call me at 3 in the morning. Not now, but we'll go into that at some other point in time. We should do
Up with
some
me,
kind
whatever.
of closeout.
No, it's just just end the thing with a collection of all the burps from the.
No. If we if you haven't been able to tell by the editing and the sound and the visual, we could use some sponsors. So, because right now our only sponsor is DeTalvo Glass Studio. Yes. And DeTalvo Glass Studio doesn't have a lot of money. So, I don't know, Dickies or somebody.
I know. I want to change. I want to like have something behind me besides.
Mashed
I want to.
potatoes.
I want to upgrade from the mashed potatoes. Maybe get a better light situation too,
Do you hear
because
that, people? Please give us some money so this man cannot be sitting in mashed potatoes. And I'm in my, like, chiaroscuro. I used to call it the Fraggle Cave and the Lady Cave, but I recently came up with the Lady Lair. I like the alliteration of the Lady Lair and the Fraggle Cave.
yes. Aren't layers usually reserved for villains though?
I'm always typecast as a bad person. That's another episode.
And I have to mention that I did write a screenplay where the
Mm,
villain was
mm,
predominantly you. So,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Chainsaws out.
so yeah, that's another great podcast. I had fun.
I
I
had
learned some
fun.
things.
Hooray.
Anyway, yeah. Well, that was a wonderful podcast. I've been Nate in Ohio.
And I have been Detalvo in Queens. And next week we'll tell you some stories about wardrobe hell.
Wardrobe hell. Okay. We'll talk to you this week. Bye.
Bye.